finally allowed to go into my house.
Wow, you must feel great.
It's just a huge relief. I mean, I'm still shaken up. The feeling's not over. I still have this guy's stuff to deal with I'm looking at right here, but yeah, huge relief.
This segment is brought to you by Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. Some patients, like me, can lose 20 to 30 pounds in a month or two. Schedule your free 15-minute consultation today at eastsideweightlossclinic.com. We received some wonderful news that the man who has become known as Seattle's homeless landlord finally has his house back after a year-long saga. We first heard about Jason Roth's ordeal from our friend Jason Rantz at KTTH, who published a story that went viral nationally. The headline, "Nightmare Tenant Made Seattle Landlord Go Homeless." And it detailed the story about how Jason Roth, 32 years old, had bought a house in South Seattle, fixed it up, decided to rent it out, and then the person he chose to rent it to just never paid him rent. And he ended up himself living often in his sleeper van with his dog Wally, crashing on couches of his friends while he tried to deal with this situation at the home that he owned. So Jason Roth first joined us here on the unDivided podcast back in October of last year. 32 years old, homeowner, virtually homeless.
Yeah. I mean, could I go find another apartment, like a dirt cheap bedroom somewhere? Probably, but I have school to pay for. I have bills. I have this house to pay for. Like, I don't want to go into debt. I mean, I will sleep wherever I need to make sure I don't, go into debt or start struggling in other ways. I will sacrifice my comfort right now to get this done.
So the man that Jason Roth was renting this home to, his name is Kareem Hunter. And he wasn't some down on his luck, lost his job during the pandemic sort of person. It was very clear that he knew he could use Seattle's strong tenant protections to take advantage of the system and live in this home rent-free, which he was able to do successfully for about a year, until Jason Roth says his luck turned around. He's going to explain that to us coming up momentarily. But he says Wednesday morning, he sent us the photographs. The King County Sheriff's Office showed up along with Jason Roth, and they were able to serve a successful eviction to get that deadbeat tenant out of that house. So Jason talked to us earlier on this morning about what happened and what he's been through. Jason Roth, where are you?
I'm in front of my house.
Okay, you're in front of it, but can you go in it? Are you?
I can go in. Yes, finally allowed to go into my house.
Wow, you must feel great.
It's just a huge relief. I mean, I'm still shaken up. The feeling's not over. I still have this guy's stuff to deal with I'm looking at right here, but yeah, huge relief.
So they came in and the sheriff's office was present for you to, issue an eviction Wednesday morning. You mentioned that his stuff is still there. Can you show us? Can you flip the camera around?
Yeah. I think this is stuff he didn't want, and now I'm his junk removal service.
Oh my gosh. So now you're responsible? No one helps you with that? You have to do that?
Nope. I got my truck here. I'm going to be doing Goodwill runs, dump runs. Not only am I responsible for this, but if someone gets hurt with the stuff out here or like ingests something or whatever, I'm on the hook for that. So I barely slept last night. I was like, what does that mean? Like, what if someone steals it? So I put caution tape around it. I was trying to be as respectful. I put a tarp down, but he didn't pick it up. But I think this is garbage, and he knew it was on my dime to throw it away.
Gosh. So talk about, before we get into what happened, just talk about how things went when you showed up, you had the lawful eviction, and the sheriff's deputies were there.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty straightforward. I was a little nervous. I didn't know what was going to happen. Or I've obviously never done an eviction before, but the sheriffs were super professional. They came in, they knocked on the door, and they said, look, you've had all the time in the world. You've had every chance. Like, at this point, you got to get off the property, and he's going to move your stuff out. They let him grab his personal belongings, and he, argued with them a little bit. I don't know exactly what he was saying. I'm sure it was trying to make more excuses. But they brought him outside. I have great friends and family that were here to help, and we moved everything out carefully. Didn't break anything.
Yeah. So you had mentioned, that this wasn't a surprise to him because, you kind of went quiet for a while. You can talk about why that was because when you called and you said, "Hey, he's out, he's gone," I'm like, "What? How did this get resolved?" So
Yeah.
there was actually a date where had agreed to move out and he didn't, and so that's why the eviction was served. So talk about what happened that led you from the last time we talked to you when this guy was still squatting in your house to now.
Yeah. There was so I joined Rental Housing Association, and that was the big change of all this where things started looking up. I became a RHA member. I didn't even know they existed until somewhat recently. They helped me find a lawyer that was better suited for my situation. They gave me a lot of good advice. And some of that was sort of stay on the down low for a little while until this is over. And the lawyer that they were able to find me, who they recommended, was awesome. And he came up with a settlement that they agreed to, which is part of the reason like the eviction actually happened. It made us so we didn't have to go to court. And, as soon as it was over, I called you because it was over. Didn't want to jinx anything.
Yeah, so I guess, even though you had the settlement, an attorney who finally helped you at least stop all of the delays that they were putting you through, I still feel like you're getting the short end of the stick a little bit because you get your house back, but he doesn't have to pay you any of the back rent, right? That owes you for a year?
So, yeah, I mean, it feels like a win because it's been like the worst year of my life. Well, not like it's been the worst year of my life. And you're right. I mean, in the settlement, the only way they agreed to a settlement is if he leaves, no money exchanges hands. That doesn't mean I can't sue him later for the money, but, I can't speak to that or not right now. At this point, I'm just focused on moving back in. I'm not even thinking about that. But he doesn't get an eviction on his record. There's an order of limited dissemination, meaning I don't think it can be reported to credit companies. Basically, if someone hasn't been watching the news, he could do this again to someone else. It's a shame. And I'm thankful that you guys and other media want to show it because it shows the truth. It shows that this is unbelievable that this is considered a win.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm out. It cost almost $30,000 in legal defense, and not to mention the $60,000 to $70,000 in lost rent,
Insane.
plus all the other stuff. Plus, he left with a utility bill that's $2,500. So it just adds up.
Wow, that's insane. And I think, the no eviction on his record speaks to a bigger problem because you as a landlord, you could go through, do your due diligence, but if you have things like this that aren't on paper, I mean, what is your advice to landlords about how do you even try to protect against a deadbeat tenant?
I mean, I'll say it again. I would join Rental Housing Association. Unless you're a lawyer and a landlord and you're constantly following up, with the housing committee and the new laws being passed and the regulations, it seems it is an impossible task to be a landlord, go about your life and be up to date on this stuff. So it's actually really hard. It's not an easy task.
Yeah. So I guess my big question is, are you going to rent the house out again?
Not right now. I mean, if buddies want to live here and just make it feel good again, that's fine, but I'm not renting it out in the near future.
No, and I was happy because almost immediately when you called, I said, send us pictures. And one of the pictures you sent was Wally. He looked happy, and I know you got a lot of work ahead. Was the house in okay condition?
Yeah, he was pretty clean. He was pretty methodical and clean. But that just speaks to how he scammed the system. He did it in the same respect. But thankfully for me, the house was not trashed. I mean, it was dirty, and he had been constantly cleaning the Airbnb unit, so it was basically like ready to move in.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, Jason Roth, people who've been following your story with intrigue, I saw a lot of happy notes on social media when they heard that you were back in the house. Any parting words of advice?
Yeah, I would say just due diligence. If you're going to be a landlord or anyone in Seattle is going to be a landlord, make sure they know what they're getting into. Make sure they know the laws. if they're so inclined, become an RHA member. Don't let what happened to me happen to you. I mean, if I can get anything positive out of this, is to make sure this doesn't happen to even one other person, because it was miserable. It was miserable for me. It was miserable for my entire family, for all my friends who let me stay at their house and stuff. I mean, it was just a terrible, terrible year. So if you're thinking about being a landlord, or even if you know somebody who has a rental, just, show them this, and just be careful. It is wild out there.
Yeah, well, one less affordable house option on the market for people in the city of Seattle. So very contrary to what our politicians say they wanted to accomplish with some of these
Can I speak to that really quick? I have something I want to say about that. You're right about that. There were bedrooms available here for $500 to $700 for years, and it was awesome to have an affordable rental. And people, there were some commentary around the internet about, making me to seem like the bad guy and then this tenant to be the hero. It's like, how could you pick that type of person as the person to stand behind? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. This is a guy who's a professional scam artist who knows how to work the system absolutely perfectly, and who's taken resources away from other people who need it, from the lawyer to the house itself. I mean, this is not your guy to stand behind as an example for tenant rights. That blew my mind when I saw some of that stuff pop up on the internet.
It is pretty wild. It just shows like the ideology and how fierce it can be. And again, I think it's worth reiterating, this isn't someone who was like down on his luck, lost a job, this is someone who from the very beginning, I think it's clear, never intended to pay you.
Brandi, I'm about to go throw away Prada shoe boxes. I'm not kidding.
There's Prada shoe boxes?
In that pile of stuff right there, there's Prada shoe boxes. I mean, the fact that people could look at this guy as a victim, it just, I don't know. It's insult to injury, and it's just horrible. I mean, yeah.
No, this is a guy who was taking videos of himself on yachts, on vacation, while he was living in your house rent-free.
You saw that.
Ridiculous. Yeah. All right, Jason Roth, God bless you. Thank you for letting us come along on this crazy journey. Give Wally a little pat on the head for us, and good luck moving back in.
Thank you. No, thank you for telling the story. Appreciate it.
Bittersweet. So gets the house back, doesn't get any of the back rent, has to clean up the guy's Prada boxes. I mean, you can't make that stuff up. He told me that. I was like, there's no way. Go take a picture. And he took a picture. And is that a Burberry bag next to it? I'm not sure.
I mean, so like
honestly ridiculous. And again, you had far left blogs who were like, oh, this is an evil landlord, trying to kick out some black man onto the streets or whatever. No, you took one look at this guy's social media and you knew exactly what he was doing. He was absolutely manipulating the system. Sorry, I don't even own Prada. I don't know if that's a real Burberry purse. I don't have a Burberry anything. And it's like, come on, man. So ridiculous. And I would like to believe that the Seattle politicians who pushed through these strict landlord protection or tenant protections and gave all the tenants free attorneys if they were going to get evicted, maybe they had the best of intentions, but the outcome isn't that. The outcome is people like Kareem Hunter taking advantage of people like Jason Roth and then finding lefty news agencies to hold water for them. Ridiculous. But Jason's back home, cleaning up his yard, getting things back in order, and doesn't have to sleep in his camper van anymore with little Wally.